How is everyone? Oh man, El Mac, you're quick. Straight in there. Right, well, I'm gonna leave this a second before I really start this, let enough people come and join in. I will say right now that if you hear my phone buzz away, I foolishly decided to end a lot of eBay auctions exactly while making this video, which is a bad decision. Also, if this is a bit echoey, I'm sat in a mostly empty room. This is my new office, but it's not done yet. I'm not going to show you around because it needs work. I can't wait until I get it done though, because it's going to be cool. Never had my own office space before. And should make productivity a lot better. But yeah, like I said, we're just gonna wait, let enough people. Does it sound okay? Cheers, Kevin. Hey guys, a few more people joining in here. Hi, hey guys. Drifter from the loading bay, how's it going? Yes, basically I don't really have any topics for this. I just kind of posted up something on my social media just asking guys to come and chat with me, basically. Like I mentioned on Instagram, I did unfortunately hurt my shoulder doing a bit of a gap. It's actually one of the bigger gaps I've done for a while. I have had a niggly shoulder injury for probably 4 or 5 months though. I can't remember how I did it. May have been in Aberdeen when I did a big bunny hop gap with Ben Travis across a road. Landing that, the shoulders get absolutely wrenched out and I think I tore something. But it almost healed. It was actually causing me no issue riding until I did that gap, and then unfortunately hurt a little bit. But I've been talking about the office. We're going to be doing some more DIY in another room in the house, the dining room. That's going to be it's going to be Jane's workout room. She wants to do online movement exercise classes, so that room is going to be an exercise room and it's going to be a rehab room, and it's going to be amazing for me keeping fit, get my shoulder all working. So yeah, can't wait for that. Hello from Switzerland. Oh my goodness, I forget how widespread people are when they watch these videos. But like I said, just waiting for a few more people to join in. Hope you're all doing well. I'm gonna wait, see what questions you guys ask me today. A trials version of Jack Moore with that shoulder, yeah. I mean, I've been riding for 25 years and this is the first time I've really had any issues with the shoulder, so I can't complain too much. It's just my fault for not rehabbing it. Like I said, Jane is a massage therapist. She's a qualified PT. I drive her mad. She's always saying, oh, you need to do this for rehab. Let me work on it. And I'm just stubborn. I really need to listen to her. Joel, Ali's teaching a trial spin class. And oh my goodness, I've entered a couple of spin classes. I went to the gym and entered a couple of classes a few years ago. My fitness is so bad for those, oh my goodness. There's like people, middle-aged people who are able to keep up. They've got a beer belly on them, you know, they've got a bit of weight to them and they have no bother keeping up. I'm just there going, oh my God, I have to stop. It's so weird, I don't know what's going on. People from Russia, hi Sergey. Oh, I've got a question here from you, thanks for this. Greetings from Russia. Why there is no street trial competitions? How should it look in my opinion? I think most street trials riders don't necessarily care about competitions. They're doing it just for fun and generally aren't the most competitive people anyway. Competition trials, if you find most riders who enter comps, myself included when I used to do them, quite competitive. So yeah, no issues with them. They love to go and try and prove who's the best. In street trials, it's not quite the same. I don't think there's really enough people wanting to go out and prove themselves and have competitions. That said, I do think there is space for competitions. I think a few people would enter them. Jam style ones definitely have worked in the past, but then you're coming down to judges' scores, and I'm not too sure what I feel about judges' scores, because what one person thinks is cool, another one might not. I know I'm quite opinionated when it comes to riding. I know what I think is cool, but I think that differs to what a lot of other riders consider cool, so I'm not so sure about judged competitions for street trials, but I do think speed trials is something that could really be pushed and become a really cool competition for street trials. Cool to enter, it's fairly obvious about who wins. You have to work out stuff about dabs, and it's cool for spectators as well because it's quite a dynamic thing to look at. So yeah, maybe in the future, I'm not sure if I'll organise one, never say never though, but maybe someone with a bit more of a backing, maybe a Red Bull or other type of sponsorship, maybe they can persuade their sponsors to put some money behind it and actually make it a really big event, and I think that would be awesome. Let's see. Martin Schwartz, how do I like my new Industry 9 Hydro Hub? I've not actually ridden it yet. I've built it and it's been sat there, but I've been waiting for a certain new bike from Inspired to arrive before I actually use them, and I don't think we'll have to wait too much longer. So yeah, ask me in a few months what I think of it and I'll let you know. Let's see here. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. If you're just joining in now, thank you very much. Live video because I hurt my shoulder, so can't ride. I just wanted to get a video out to you, and I know a lot of you like the live Q&A stuff. John Cobb, favourite most inspired riding when you were growing up? Still is one of my most inspiring riders to watch. Certainly inspired me a lot, and that's Chris Ackrig. Lived just over the hill from me, but kind of always kept himself to himself, so he has almost like this enigma around him that you just don't know what he's up to or anything, but then he'd bring out these videos and it'd just be his own unique style, which is really awesome. He just does his own thing, is really fast, and loads of style. I think I'll put my screen back on. I've got my computer behind me here, so it went in the screensaver mode and it's maybe gone a bit dark. But yeah, Chris Ackrig, really stylish rider. I love how he does his stuff, and he really inspired me back in the day. Firstly doing competition stuff, because he was a competition rider back in the day, and then going on to more street trial stuff, which, to be fair, his riding, his comp and street trials is kind of the same. But yeah, he's been a huge inspiration, so yeah, really like watching him. And of course, I've got to say that other riders, Martin Ashen, Eddie Tung, Martin Hawes, all these guys, huge inspirations to me. Commander Wolf 312, can I ride with Fabio or Danny or even Sam Pilgrim? Well, I've rode with Danny quite a bit in the past because we used to live together, did for the last 8 years, but we've kind of all gone our separate ways, living in different places. I've somehow managed to get myself a house. Who knows how that happened. Danny is kind of a nomad up in Inverness somewhere. Sam Pilgrim, yeah, would be keen to ride with Sam, but he lives a good 7 hours down south, so I'm not down that way that often, but I've been meaning to ride with him for like the past 5 years, however long I've been making vlogs and YouTube videos, but easier said than done. But this next year, 2022, that's going to be the year. I'm going to get out, I'm going to make an effort, and yeah, I will have to go and ride with Sam. So yeah. Fabio, oh, I forgot about Fabio. Fabio, yes, I would like to ride with Fabio. With him being in Austria, makes life a little bit tricky, especially with the whole COVID stuff, traveling, bit of a nightmare. So yeah, I would like to ride with Fabio, but being abroad makes it a little bit harder. Let's see here. Yeah, Michael, are you talking about the Hydro Hubs? Yeah, they look amazing, they sound amazing. I'm really looking forward to putting them on my bike too. So, MTB today, how do I rate the risk versus reward doing backflips? Easy move arguably, but very risky when it goes wrong. You just injured yourself doing a flip, can't decide whether it's worth it to continue. Yeah, backflips, arguably very easy. Yes, I actually think backflips are one of the easiest tricks to do with a ramp. All you do is go up and just go like that, and the ramp does the work for you. I'd much rather do a backflip than a no-footer. I hate taking my feet off the pedals, it terrifies me. So yeah, backflips I find relatively easy. The hardest thing about a backflip is definitely your head, because if you're new to backflips, if you've not been doing them before, going upside down, your brain automatically thinks, oh my God, I'm crashing, I need to let go of the bike and get out of this situation. Letting go of the bike is actually one of the worst things you can do, because that pretty much stops the backflip. You can land on your head if you've only just left the takeoff, and the bike can then come down and land on top of you. So usually, unless it's gone really wrong, as long as you hold on to the bike, you're probably going to make it around and land at least on the front wheel, and then it's just going to be an over the bars. So letting go of the bike, worst thing. But as for risk versus reward, well, For me, the glory of learning to backflip definitely outweighed the risk. And I actually learned in a really risky manner. I took my bike to a skate park. It didn't have a resi ramp, it didn't have a foam pit. Myself and Aaron Yolo Cook just took a mattress. We were sharing a house at the time. Took a mattress from home, put it on top of a ramp, and just sent flips. My first few attempts were awful because I did the thing I just told you not to do. I let go of the bikes. My bike went flying back. I think I actually hit the ramp that I did the roll down with, like 20 foot behind me. I landed, I think, just on my back. I was just really lucky not to land on my head. It took me 5 attempts, and on the 5th one, I landed a backflip, and I pretty much landed. I've never really under-rotated a backflip since then. I've landed front wheel first, but I've never had a backflip go so spectacularly wrong that I've kind of eaten so much crap that I've never wanted to do one again. So yeah, if you're gonna learn them, I don't really recommend learning the way I did. I would recommend going to a skate park with a foam pit and just repeating it. The more times you do it, the more muscle memory you get, the more your brain will feel that it's absolutely fine. And yeah, then you can take it onto a resi ramp, land that a few times, and then take it onto wood. And once you've got that muscle memory, once you've got over the fear, like I said, they're actually a really easy trick to learn. So yeah, it's risk versus reward. It's up to you. If you feel confident, then yeah, send it. But if you're not feeling confident and you feel you'd rather be safe, then obviously you think that the reward isn't worth the risk. Worth the risk? Yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's up to you. Up to you. Ross Luz, sorry. How are the haze brakes holding up? Absolutely amazingly. I know I keep on going on about these brakes, but honestly, they are still the best brakes I've ever used. I've not had a single issue with them. The power is amazing, the modulation is amazing, the lever feel is amazing. The more I use these brakes, the more I love them. I can't recommend them enough. So yeah, go get a set. Ashley Hall, ever thought about an LEC range of bike parts? When I was younger, yes, definitely. I spent hours, days, weeks, always drawing, designing, coming up with ideas, and I actually still think I've got some unique ideas which have never been done and would be awesome. But I love designing stuff. I don't like the paperwork. I'd actually much rather work for another company, just being employed to design products. Not that I'm good enough to really do that, but yeah, I'd much rather do that than have to do all the paperwork, do all the insurance stuff, because if I design something then it breaks, that's going to be pretty horrendous. So yeah, I do think I've got some ideas for products that would work well, but no, I wouldn't like to have them under my own name. So hope it's a bit of a weird answer. I don't think many people would think I would want to do that, but yeah, there we go. So thanks guys for joining me. We've got a few people here now. Hang on, did someone send me some money? Have I missed that? Steve Hoppe, hope I'm saying your name right. Wow, thanks. I completely forgot that people can even send me money via these live chats. So, yeah, cheers, dude. I really appreciate that. He's asking, any plans for cross-genre collabs, like bordering, stuff like that? Maybe. I did a video about bouldering years ago and it absolutely tanked. So I definitely think people are here to watch me ride bikes rather than do something that isn't bike related. But at the same time, I do really like bouldering and I do think it's a great cross sport for trials riding. So maybe it's worth sharing. I know a lot of people ask me how I keep fit, how I train for trials. So yeah, maybe in the future, if enough people want to see that. As for using people from the sports that are good at it, yeah, again, that'll take some planning, and I'm absolutely awful at planning. But never say never. But yeah, thanks a lot for the suggestion and the donation. Really appreciate it. So I'm just going to run through some questions here. Try and get through as many as possible. I don't want this video to go on for too long as well, by the way. Jane actually would like to go to IKEA after I've done this video. So, in fact, I've got this egg timer. I'm going to set this to half an hour. So we've got half an hour from now, guys. Once this goes that's going to be it. So I'm just going to stick that over there because it's so easy to get carried away and just talk for hours. So we're going to limit it. So when people watch these videos back, it's not as daunting. Let's see, just going to run through a few more. Tony Nash, would I consider doing something like Bike Party? Do you mean come up with my own kind of video, or you mean would I take part in a Bike Party number 3 or 4? Can't remember where they're at now, if I was asked. If I was asked, yes, definitely, I'd love to take part in it. If I was to go and do something like that myself, I'm in no hurry to go and do any kind of big video projects. I like doing the weekly videos, that's kind of my thing. If I started doing projects, then it'd be really hard to carry on with the weekly videos. Plus, I've tried to do projects in the past and I'm really bad at coming up with ideas. And I really don't like the planning process. I don't like setting all my sights on this one thing and then kind of coming to it and either deciding that actually I can't do that thing because I'm not as skilled as maybe I think I am, or I don't dare do the thing that I thought I could dare do, or there's a whole number of things. Maybe I set aside time specifically to do a project and then it rains, then what happens? I don't necessarily have the budget to go and do these big projects. So yeah, I'm in no hurry to go and start doing these big projects things because it'd be really difficult for me without any financial backing, really. Plus, I don't want to plan for months and then find out I can't do it. Because I've been down that road before. I injured myself years ago when I lived in Blackpool, and while I was injured, I went out and hunted all these lines that I wanted to do to make this absolute epic video. When I was healthy, I came to these lines and I was a lot better in my head than I actually was in person, and I didn't dare do a single one of these things that I had pointed out. So I just don't want to build up all this anticipation to do something and then not dare do it. Adam Walsh, how do I find my Asperger's affects my riding, negative or positive? Good knowledge with the Asperger's there. Yeah, if you don't know, I was diagnosed with Asperger's when I was 16, which may explain some of my quirky behaviours. I'm not sure. I used to suffer with it. I don't know whether you outgrow it or what, but I'm a high-functioning Asperger's person. I really struggled in school. I actually left school when I was 14 because I couldn't cope. But at the same time, people with Asperger's tend to have an obsession that they are single-minded on, and mine was bikes. So I actually think Asperger's was negative for a lot of things socially, which is another reason why I potentially ride on my own a lot of the time, because my social skills, I kind of find it a bit weird to be around people sometimes. But as for being obsessed about something and dedicating time to it, yeah, Asperger's really, I think, helped with my riding skills, because I was just single-minded bikes. Bikes are my obsession. I love them. I have done for 25 years. When I wasn't at school, I was riding bikes. I was out for as long as I could, and yeah, this obsession allowed me to get good at riding bikes, probably better than people who weren't as single-minded as me. So yeah, I'm not angry that I've got Asperger's. It's definitely made life difficult for some things, but it's given me this lifestyle that I've got now, so can't complain. Let's see, quite a few questions coming through here. I will try to answer as many as possible, but if I don't answer yours, please don't be offended. Some really good ones here, so I'm trying to not miss them. So Gus Roger, going back to would I film Road Bike Party if I was asked, he's asked a similar question. If I was asked to be a part of a video like a slice of Great British Pie, would I? Yeah, I quite like being in video projects as long as someone else is doing all the organising and the kind of stressy stuff. If I can just kind of like turn up and do my thing, that's great. Yeah, I love riding. I love riding in front of camera. I love riding in front of other people's camera because that means that I don't have to deal with all the camera stuff. So yeah, I really like it when other people film and being in other people's projects. No issue with that at all. Adam Lucas, again, hope I'm saying your second name right there. Would I like to make myself my own frame? And they can't thank me enough for my Wilburn video. Thank you very much. At the minute, no, I'm perfectly happy with the inspired hex. If I was to make my own frame, it'd pretty much just be a copy of that. The whole reason I ride a hex is because I kind of chose the geometry and some of the stuff that it has. So there's no reason for me to then kind of have the stress side of making my own frame and will it snap, will it break, will it be any good? The inspired frame has years of durability, proven durability. The geometry I know is good because I chose it. So yeah, I'm in no hurry to go and make my own frame. However, there are frames out there that don't exist. I have some ideas which I'd love to try and see if they work. Maybe they don't exist for a reason. Maybe one day I'll either make my own in the garage, I'll get some welding equipment and try my best to make a frame, or maybe I'll find someone who's actually good at welding to make me something. But yeah, I have ideas, I'd love to know if they would work, so maybe one day, maybe. Let's see here. So Lucas E, thanks for joining me. How am I? I'm well, other than my sore soldier. It's like a living tongue twister. Sore shoulder. I'm good other than my sore shoulder. Thank you very much. I hope you're well as well. I hope everyone's well. Explosive notes. Hi Ali, hi everyone. Ali, as we're practically the same age, how are your knees doing? My knees are great. I know people have a lot of issues with knees, and I'm going to touch some wood here and say that I've never had a knee issue. I have no idea why not, because it is a common issue, but no, other than my shoulder and a bit of a neck issue that I have, the rest of my body is absolutely great. I do feel I need to start looking after it though. I'm not going to start taking this for granted now that I do have a sore shoulder. Got it right that time, and a sore neck. I do feel at my age I'm going to have to take some care in my body to help me ride for as long as possible. So yeah, I hope your knees are okay. It is a common thing, so I'm sure there are some exercises you can do to help. Now, Bahadur, I hope I'm saying your name right. Can you do trials riding with a fixie bike? Well, I'm sure you can do a bit, yes, but would I want to? No, I would not. Having a freewheel definitely makes life easier. If you can't recock your pedals, it's gonna make life a lot harder. But going back to one of my inspirational riders that I used to look up to and still do, Chris Ackrig has ridden a fixie bike. It wasn't a trials bike and it wasn't trials gearing, but he was doing some pretty impressive stuff on it, which could be considered trials. So it is possible. Like I said, I'm not in any hurry to be doing that. Martin Schwartz, will the inspired hex be available soon? Will the hex be good for someone who's 195 centimeters tall? I believe it will be available soon. You are on the tall side, but if you're after a street trials bike, the hex is probably one of the better ones to go for. It has, I think, the longest reach of any inspired bike over than the arcade. Actually, I think the hex and the arcade have the same reach. With your height, say, I'm 177 centimeters tall, so you're a fair bit taller than me. You could put on a longer stem to lengthen the bike a little bit, and that will help you. But I know plenty of tall people who do ride the hex and get on with it pretty well. So yeah, out of any street trials bike, it's probably one of the better ones to go for your height. Russell Woodley, hello from Canada. How can I deal with learning trials in the winter? Still trying to figure out back hops, and I don't know how the countryside snow is going to hinder my progress. Yeah, snow is not helpful at all. Fortunately, trials riding, especially if you're learning something like back hops where you don't need a big space, can be done indoors. Whether or not you get permission to do this, I don't know. Hopefully you have a garage or something that maybe you can make a little bit of space indoors there. If you have somewhere in the garden, or assuming you have a garden, that you can put a gazebo or somewhere covered, or shovel a bit of snow out of the way. You don't need a huge space to learn the basics. So it is possible in winter. You just have to think outside the box a little bit, or just find somewhere sheltered to learn. But yeah, I hope you get on okay. So one thing here in the UK, we don't get that much snow, which is a bit annoying because snow is pretty cool, but snow can get tiresome. We just have a lot of rain and really short days, which is really boring. Ever put harder gearing on my trials bike? You could do some huge gaps with your ability. So the Inspired Arcade, when I first developed that with Mark and Sean, we actually did run a slightly harder gear ratio on that. The normal 24-inch gear ratio is 22 on the front and 16 on the back, but we actually decided to go with a 15 on the back, one tube smaller, which doesn't sound much, but actually makes a huge difference. Because this bike was a bit more BMX-y, we figured BMX riders might prefer a slightly harder gear, and I got on with it okay. Now you would assume, especially if you just made that comment, that you can gap further with a harder gear, but that's not necessarily true. Unless you've got absolutely massive leg muscles, which I don't, the harder gear ratio will actually make your bike accelerate slower, which will make gaps harder. So having a slightly easier gear will actually make your bike accelerate faster, and that's when you can have the bigger static gaps. Now if you're talking rolling gaps, then yeah, a slightly harder gear might help there. But again, I don't have any issue with rolling gaps. I could probably go the same distance with this slightly easier gear than I could with a slightly harder gear. Now, you can go too easy for sure, and then yeah, you're going, if you're kicking the pedals, you're not going to go anywhere. So there's a compromise. So yeah, a harder gear doesn't necessarily mean bigger static gaps. Ooh, 087 Seb, what do I think of Danny's greenwashing video? Would you refuse to work with for Google, knowing the whole point of that series was to make them look good whilst they're one of the biggest emitters? So honestly, I'd never really considered what Danny's video was doing greenwashing. I just saw it as a cool video of him riding in places riding in places like the factory and on top of the turbine wing as just a cool video. I didn't really look into the message of it too much. I can't really comment because I don't know much or anything about the subject at all, I'm afraid. So yeah, sorry, I can't really comment on that one. Gus Roger, been a few years since your collab with Ben Cathro on mountain bikes. Would love to see Cathro try trials. Yeah, I mean, we did mention something about doing trials with Ben years ago. Just kind of never really ended up doing it. Next year, I want to be the year of collabs, and I would love to have Ben on the channel, either doing mountain bike stuff or trials. So if I have a spare bike, which I may do, I might have to ask him and see if he wants to do that. Random camera drunk. Just made a peanut butter and jam sandwich, got halfway through and realised I can't taste it. Am I going to die? I don't think you're going to die, but just make sure you haven't got any other symptoms. Get yourself tested. Although maybe it's a good thing you can't taste it. Peanut butter and jam? No thanks, I'd rather not be able to taste that. Let's see here. Daniel, I'm not going to say your last name because I would absolutely butcher it. Do I think it's about the rider or the bike? I.e., you don't have to spend a fortune on the bike. Definitely the rider, definitely, yeah. You can get someone who's an amazing rider on an absolute crap bike and they'll still be able to do really good riding. Whereas if you get a really kind of new rider who isn't that good and put them on a really good bike, again, they're probably not going to be able to do that much. So yeah, it doesn't really matter what bike you have, as long as you make yourself skilled, then yeah, you're better to do a lot of riding. So yeah, don't worry about spending too much, just as long as you've got a bike that rolls, the brakes work, the gears work, and you're not going to break the hub from putting pressure through the pedals, then yeah, you're going to be able to do some good riding on it. I'll just go through your questions again. Thanks for joining me. Sorry it's not a riding video this week. I'm gonna let my shoulder recover a little bit. Oh, we're getting into politics a little bit here. Do I think Scotland is coping well with COVID in terms of policy? I actually think Scotland has been one of the better countries out there for dealing with COVID. However, they've not been allowed to really make all the decisions they wanted to make. Scotland it's not an independent country, but it does have its own parliament and kind of its own rules. It's kind of complicated. But we are still governed by Westminster down in London, and we have to follow rules that they set. So as much as our own government wants to set rules, we can't really do too much separate from what England does. So I think some of the English rules have been awful. I think they've actually really made bad mistakes. And I actually think the Prime Minister and a lot of his cronies ought to be put in prison. Unfortunately, Scotland have had to follow suit with a lot of their rules, whereas I think if we were allowed to do our own rules, we probably would have been a lot better off. So yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Gaia Bill, Gia Bill, I hope I'm saying your name right. Ever consider more brakeless riding? Yes, one thing I would quite like to do is when I build up a new hex, whenever that would be, maybe I would I'm going to have 2 bikes basically. I've got enough parts for 2 bikes. So maybe my old hex, I might build it up as a brakeless bike and see what I can do. The last time I went brakeless was on my 24-inch, my Inspired Arcade, so it would be quite cool to ride the hex brakeless again. I actually rode brakeless on my hex, my very first hex, my prototype hex back in like 2011. I rode that for months, brakeless, so it'd be quite nice to go back to my roots there a little bit. Martin Schwartz again, are the Cushcore inserts a good idea for trials? They say the inserts add a suspension quality, would that help in trials? So rim inserts, if you're riding a tubeless, are definitely a good idea. It means you're not going to get pinch punches, snakebite punches like trials riders get a lot, especially if you're riding street, hitting kickers or running slightly softer pressures. Now, I have run Cushcores in the past and they do work well. However, I don't think they're the best option for trials riding. I think they actually put too much pressure on the sidewall, and I actually ended up ripping some lighter weight tyres, which wasn't ideal, and they're also pretty heavy. I actually really like the Rimpact inserts. They're a British company based down in Bristol, and they're basically the best compromise between weight, price, and ease of fitting. They're pretty lightweight, they're pretty cheap, like 60 quid each for the fairly standard ones, and they are really easy to fit. I really love the performance. They give actually really good protection for the rim. When I take mine out, they're covered in impacts. You can see where they've been doing a good job. And yeah, I really like them. I have them on my trials bike. I have them for the last few years, and yeah, I wouldn't consider running tubeless without one, at least in the back. I can definitely recommend. Yeah. What was that? Primey boy, brakeless is hard. Yes, it is very hard, but it's very fun. At the beginning, Mountain Bike Today, at the beginning of the year, you said one of your goals was to ride for a certain bike company. Who did you think of and did you succeed? I can't remember who that was, and no, I did not succeed. I actually sent off so many proposals this year to ride for mountain bike companies, but I couldn't have chosen a worse point to ever do it. Brexit has kind of put a spanner in the works, so I got to the point of signing a contract. They're just about to send over a contract for me to sign to ride for a bike company. I was going to get a decent wage. There are going to be some really interesting bikes, and pretty much the day I was expecting the contract, they said, we're not going to do this anymore because Brexit is going to make it too hard to get the bikes to you. So thanks, Brexit. Also, COVID. If any of you have tried to buy a bike or any bike parts for the last year or so, you'll know supply is limited. So with me being like, hey, how about you guys give me a bike? They're like, we don't have bikes to give you. So I couldn't have chosen a worse time to ask for bike sponsorships. I've sent off dozens of proposals to some really cool companies I would love to work with, and none of them could help me. So I am without a mountain bike sponsor again for another year at least. So frustrating, so frustrating. I'd love to do more mountain bike stuff, but having someone having a brand to help support kind of what I want to do with bikes and some wage would definitely be handy. So maybe next year, maybe next year. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. Ah, dear. Mikhail Salander, again, lots of foreign people with foreign names. I hope I'm saying them right. I apologise. I'm classic English. I'm lazy at learning other languages and accents, so apologies for that. Here it says, I would love to see you hit up some dirt jumps. How easy would it be on my street bike? I have done some dirt jumps on a street bike before. They're not the perfect bike. The bottom bracket is a little bit high, so they're a little bit top heavy, and the steep hand angle can make them a little bit nervous feeling, but they're fine. I am not a dirt jumper by any means, but I can get through a set of dirt jumps. Don't expect me to throw any big tricks or hit the biggest set, but I can do them. They're terrifying, and there aren't really any dirt jumps near me. Now, there are a set up a couple of hours up north I would like to hit at some point. Maybe next year I'll try them, and I'll let you know how I get on. I'll make a video so you can see either how easy or hard it is on a street trials bike. Another brake question with the Hayes. How's the performance and modulation of the Hayes brakes in comparison to the MT7s? Power-wise, I'll say the MT7s have more sheer power, slightly more bite, just slightly more bite, but the modulation of the Hayes is sublime. It is really, really good. And we're only talking slightly less powerful and slightly less bite for a lot more feel. And personally, I would take that. So yeah, I prefer the Hayes despite them being just a little bit less powerful. Ollie C, good name. Not sure if you answered this, but you made a post about the arcade the other day. Will you be riding the arcade in the future, i.e. more regularly, or do you prefer the Hex these days? I still have a Hex, I still have an arcade. The arcade was kind of my first, I'd say, signature bike. Maybe the Hex was my first signature bike, but the arcade was something I kind of persuaded, inspired to make. They had no intentions of making a steel bike. It was kind of, I'm going to take credit for saying it's my idea. It probably wasn't. I'd say Mark Westlake helped. He certainly helped develop the bike, and Sean Watson helped develop the bike, but maybe it was my idea initially to kind of make a steel bike. So I have a real soft spot for the arcade. It's a bike I always want to have in my collection, and I do have an arcade. Will I ride it? I don't know. Maybe for a video or two in the future. Certainly not regularly. I really like the Hex. I don't feel like I need to go back to the arcade. My riding on the Hex, I feel pretty much better in every way. I prefer bigger wheels. I've always ridden bigger wheels ever since I've started riding trials and mountain bikes. 26-inch wheels were the size I started on. For my more kind of pure trial style riding, because I don't do many tricks, I don't do foot jam whips, stuff like that. I find the 26-inch wheels better for kind of pure trial static moves like side hops, gaps, hooks, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm in no hurry to go back to the arcade, even though it is a really, really good bike, as proved by how much fun I had riding it when I did ride it. Let's see here. What's my timer saying? Right guys, we've only got 5 minutes left. I'm trying to keep this video a little bit shorter than my usual live video, so I've probably got time for just one more question, maybe two. Graham Leach, if you're heading to Carbridge, which is where the dirt jumps are, how about a day at Glenlivet as well? I don't know, are there dirt jumps there? Maybe I would. Maybe I'd go up and spend a couple of days up there, that'd be awesome. Are they worth going to? I've never heard of them before. Angus McRae, thoughts on Charlie Roll's street video? I think more riders, competition riders, need to ride streets. I was thinking this just earlier today. I saw a competition rider, I think it popped up on Instagram or Facebook or something, and I was like, competition trials riders only ever ride trials parks, and it's boring. I want to see riders ride street furniture. I want to see them invent lines on stuff that's not designed to be ridden. Now, they are riding some insane stuff, they're doing insane moves, but take it to the streets, do it in a place where it wasn't designed for bikes. Invent ways to get up onto something that wasn't designed to get up onto. That's what I want to see. And I actually really liked Charlie's video for that. He's riding stuff that you can relate to, like rails and post boxes. You kind of know how high that stuff is, and that's more relatable. It's more impressive. Plus he's gapping across little tiny bollards like that big, that's like 4 foot off the floor. You don't get that stuff in Charles Parks, and I'd love to see more. It's really, really good. Yeah, if more competition riders did stuff like that, I think the sport would probably be a bit bigger rather than riding Charles Parks all the time. Martin Schwartz, thank you so much for the donation. Like I said earlier, I forgot people could do that. If you do, I'm not going to say please donate to me. You don't need to. It's just an absolute mega bonus when people do. So thanks so much. For someone who's very tall, is a street trials bike or a competition bike better? And maybe a competition trials bike, but they're going to be really hard to do anything spinny and too streety because the bottom brackets are so high. Your centre of gravity is higher, the bike becomes very unstable. I'm not saying it's impossible to ride street on a competition bike, but it's not ideal for it. Also, competition trials bikes have long wheelbases, but actually they have quite short reaches because the bottom bracket moves the reach. For the bike, basically, the higher the bottom bracket, the closer it is to your handlebars, so the reach gets shorter. Plus, they have a slacker head angle, which again makes the reach shorter. So actually, my Hex has a longer reach than competition trials bike, but I have a shorter stem. Competition trials bikes, to try and make the bike feel longer, have really long stems, then they have the handlebars tilted forwards. So you can make, well, competition trials bikes do feel long, but not because the frame is long. The frame feels short, the bike only feels long because of the bar and stem. So yeah, personally I think a competition trials bike would make a really awful street trials bike. Right, one more question. The timer is going to go off in a second. Primey Boy, what was my first inspired bike and when did I get it? My first one was a 4-play and I got that, I think it was a prototype one, because I knew Dave from Inspired before kind of Inspired was even Inspired. Before Inspired existed, I knew Dave, who owns it. And I think he just brought out the 4-play, or it was still in the prototype stages. A couple of people had them and I built one up, and it was weird. I enjoyed it, but I was still mainly a competition trials rider back in the day. I didn't know how to set up a street trials bike. And I look back at pictures on it now and it was the most awful setup you can imagine. So maybe that's why I didn't enjoy riding it that much. And I think that was in 2008. So I think it was before Danny did his April 09 video anyway. The first Inspired that I got and decided, yes, this is for me, this is what I love, was a prototype Hex back in 2010 or 11. And basically that was the bike that made me stop riding competitions. I had been riding competitions for 15 years, 12 or 15 years, I can't remember. And I was getting a bit bored of them. Competitions were getting more specialist to bikes with higher bottom brackets, and it was getting more kind of static moves rather than technical stuff in nature, woods, banking. Oh, time's up, I'll finish this question. And I just wasn't enjoying comps anymore. Now I've got this prototype Hex, like I said, about 2010, 2011. I enjoyed it so much, I never even touched my competition trials bike again until just a few years ago. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. Cool, right. There are so many questions here that I didn't answer, so sorry guys. Thanks for joining me though. Thanks for asking the questions. I will do more live videos in the future. Now that I've got an office, I can kind of do more regular stuff. I can maybe try and step up the YouTube game a little bit rather than trying to edit all my videos on my lap, on my bed, or on the sofa or something. Once this room is done, I'm going to do a little room tour because there's going to be some really cool features in here I think you guys would like to see. But yeah, that's going to have to wait. It might be after Christmas until it's completely finished. But yeah, thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed these questions. I hope you enjoyed the answers. And I will catch you next time, where I'm not sure if it's going to be a riding video or something in the garage, but I'll get a better video out for you next week, I'm sure. Hope you have an amazing time, and I'll see you then. And I'll need to work out how to end this video now. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.